Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the massive crystal platform, looking up at the towering alien structures that reached into the purple sky of Nexus Prime. The buildings looked like they were made of pure light, twisting and turning in ways that hurt his human eyes to follow. 3 years had passed since the first alien ship had appeared over Earth, and now he was here as humanity's representative. The walk to the council chamber felt endless. His aide, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks, walked beside him in her crisp Navy uniform. She carried a small case containing all of Earth's military data, prepared according to the Council's strict requirements. "Remember what we practiced," Lisa whispered as they approached the enormous doors. "Stay calm, answer their questions honestly, and don't let them intimidate you." Jake nodded. He had been a diplomat for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The doors opened without any sound, revealing a chamber so large that clouds formed near the ceiling. 12 different alien species sat in a circle around a glowing platform in the center. The Zephyrians were the first Jake noticed. They looked almost like humans, but were much taller and thinner, with skin that seemed to glow from within. Their leader, Council Prime Zixtar, wore flowing silver robes that moved like water even when there was no wind. To the left sat the Corvin Collective. Jake had read about them, but seeing them in person was disturbing. They looked like a cross between insects and machines, with metal parts grafted onto their bodies. They moved in perfect unison, as if controlled by one mind. The Thraxians dominated the right side of the chamber. War Leader Cormath stood 8 feet tall, his body covered in natural armor plates. His 4 arms ended in claws that could tear through steel, and his eyes glowed red in the dim light of the chamber. Other species filled the remaining seats. The Quillen looked like walking computers, their heads covered in blinking lights. The Vortaki resembled large octopi but wore expensive jewelry and fine clothes. The Ethereals were the strangest of all, appearing as floating clouds of colored gas that somehow spoke with voices like music. "Human delegate," Zixtar's voice echoed through the chamber. "Approach the speaking circle." Jake walked to the center platform, his footsteps loud in the silence. The 12 species stared down at him, their alien faces showing various degrees of curiosity and disdain. "Ambassador Jake Morrison of Earth," he announced, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I come before this council to request membership for humanity in the galactic community." A sound like laughter came from several of the aliens. "Or leader." Cormath leaned forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over Jake. "We have reviewed your species files, human." Cormath's voice was deep and rumbling. "Your military capabilities are amusing at best. Your largest warships would serve as shuttlecraft in our fleets." The Quillen representative, a being called Processor Vex, activated a holographic display above the platform. Images of human military equipment appeared in the air. Aircraft carriers, fighter jets, tanks, and soldiers with rifles. "Primitive projectile weapons," Vex stated in a voice that sounded like a computer. "Chemical explosives, metal vehicles that require fossil fuels. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Jake felt his face grow hot, but kept his expression neutral. Zixtar raised one long glowing hand for silence. "Perhaps more concerning is your species' tendency toward violence against your own kind. Our scouts observed no fewer than 12 active military conflicts on your world during their survey. We also noted," added the Vortaki trade representative, "that your economic systems are chaotic and inefficient. Multiple competing currencies, trade wars, and resource disputes. How can such a divided species contribute to galactic civilization?" Jake took a deep breath before responding. "Honored council members, humanity has indeed faced many challenges. Our conflicts have taught us valuable lessons about survival, adaptation, and cooperation. We believe these experiences could benefit the greater galactic community." The ethereal, being drifted closer, its gaseous form shifting colors as it spoke in harmonious tones. "Your species shows potential in certain areas. Your art, music, and literature demonstrate creativity. Your scientific progress, while slow, shows determination. However, Military strength is essential for Council membership. The galaxy is not a peaceful place, Cormath added. Pirates, rebels, and hostile species threaten trade routes and peaceful worlds. Council members must be able to defend themselves and assist in maintaining order. A new hologram appeared, showing massive alien warships. The smallest was 10 times larger than Earth's biggest aircraft carrier. They bristled with energy weapons and defensive shields that could deflect asteroid impacts. These are our patrol vessels, Zixtar explained. The ones we send to deal with minor threats. Can your primitive weapons compete with technology like this? Jake studied the alien ships, noting their sleek designs and obvious power. Our weapons may appear primitive, but they have proven effective in our experience. Against other humans, using similar primitive technology, Processor Vex corrected. Not against advanced galactic civilizations. The chamber fell silent as the council members consulted among themselves. Jake could hear their alien languages mixing together in a chorus of clicks, whistles, and electronic sounds. Lisa moved closer to him and whispered, "Whatever they decide, you've represented Earth with honor." Finally, Zixtar spoke again. The council has reached a decision. Humanity will be granted observer status for a probationary period of 1 standard galactic year. Jake's heart sank. Observer status meant Earth could attend council meetings but had no vote and received no protection or trade benefits. However, Cormath continued, we will provide you with 1 opportunity to demonstrate your military capabilities. In 6 months, you will participate in a practical examination. What kind of examination? Jake asked. There is a minor pirate problem in the Kepler mining system, Zixtar explained dismissively. A few dozen raiders have been harassing mining operations, nothing our fleets couldn't handle easily. But we have been busy with more important matters. The tone in the alien's voice told Jake this was not a generous opportunity, but a test designed for humanity to fail. You will bring your best military vessels and personnel, Cormath stated. If you can resolve this minor pirate issue, we will reconsider your application for full membership. And if we fail, Jake asked, though he already knew the answer, then humanity will be classified as a developing species, restricted to your home system until you achieve true military capability, Zixtar replied. This may take several thousand years based on your current progress. The session was ending. Jake bowed formally to the council, a gesture that caused more amused sounds from some of the alien species. As he and Lisa left the chamber, Jake heard Zixtar speaking to his aide in what the alien probably thought was private. Schedule the demonstration for the Kepler system. Contact Mining Administrator Colthon and inform him that the pirate problem will be resolved soon. The humans will actually succeed? The aide asked. Of course not, Zixtar replied with what might have been alien laughter. Vexhai and his raiders have been operating there for months. They know every asteroid, every hiding place. Our own patrol fleets have failed to catch them using hit-and-run tactics. Then why offer the humans this opportunity? Politics, Zixtar answered. Several council members expressed sympathy for the human request. This demonstration will provide clear evidence of their military inadequacy. After they fail, no one can claim we did not give them a fair chance. Jake and Lisa walked in silence through the crystal corridors toward their transport ship. The weight of Earth's future pressed down on both of them. 6 months, Lisa finally said. Can we put together a fleet capable of impressing them? Jake looked back at the towering alien city one last time before entering their small human vessel. We're going to have to do more than impress them, Lisa. We're going to have to show them something they've never seen before. What's that? How humans really fight. 6 months had passed since the meeting on Nexus Prime. Now the Galactic Council fleet hung in space at the edge of the Kepler system, waiting to watch humanity's expected failure. The flagship Cosmic Harmony stretched 15 kilometers from bow to stern, its crystal hull glowing with internal energy. The massive ship dwarfed everything around it, including the smaller observation vessels from the 12 Council species. War Leader Cormath stood on the bridge of the Cosmic Harmony, his forearms crossed as he stared at the tactical display. Any sign of the human fleet yet? Negative, War Leader, replied his tactical officer. Our sensors detect no human vessels in the system. Council Prime Zixtar glided onto the bridge, his silver robes flowing behind him. Perhaps they have reconsidered. Wisdom would dictate that primitive species avoid certain destruction. Or perhaps they are simply late, suggested Admiral Grace Sullivan. The human military attaché had been assigned to observe the demonstration from the Council flagship. Unlike Ambassador Morrison's diplomatic uniform, Sullivan wore the dark blue dress uniform of Earth's new Space Navy, with silver stars on her shoulders, indicating her high rank. Admiral Sullivan. Zixtar turned toward the human woman. Surely, you must realize this demonstration is merely a formality. Your people cannot possibly succeed where our own fleets have struggled. Sullivan remained calm under the alien's condescending gaze. With respect, Council Prime, you might be surprised. Cormath's red eyes glowed brighter with what might have been amusement. The pirate leader Vex-Hi is a former Corvan military commander. He knows our tactics, our weapons, our weaknesses. His 30 ships have been raiding this system for 8 months. 3 separate Council patrol groups have failed to eliminate them. Why is that? Sullivan asked. Vex-Hi uses hit-and-run tactics, Cormath explained. He strikes fast, then retreats into the asteroid field where our large ships cannot follow. Effectively, when we send smaller pursuit craft, his fleet overwhelms them with superior numbers. On the main display, the Kepler system spread out before them. The central star was surrounded by several mining worlds and a dense asteroid belt, where the pirates made their base. The asteroids provided perfect cover for raiders who knew how to use them. Our intelligence suggests Vex-Hi has hidden supply, bases throughout the asteroid field, added Processor Vex, the Quillen representative. He can repair and resupply without leaving the belt, a clever strategy for a primitive pirate. If he's so clever, why haven't you caught him? Sullivan asked. The question hung in the air for a moment before Zixtar answered. The Council has been occupied with more important matters. This pirate problem is an annoyance, nothing more. Certainly not worth deploying our full military might. Suddenly, the sensor officer called out, "Contact! Multiple ships entering the system from jump. Point 3. The main display shifted to show 12 human vessels emerging from faster-than-light travel. To the Council observers, they looked crude and primitive compared to the elegant alien ships. The human vessels were angular and boxy, their dark gray, hulls covered with strange bumps and projections. Those are their warships? Processor Vex's electronic voice carried clear disbelief. They appear to be constructed from primitive alloys. I detect no energy shields, no quantum weapons, no antimatter drives. Captain Ryan Mitchell's voice came over the communication system from the lead human ship. This is Captain Mitchell of the UES Defiance reporting for the demonstration as requested. Captain Mitchell, Zixtar responded. You may begin your operation. We will observe and record your efforts. Sullivan smiled slightly at the alien's tone but said nothing. The human fleet moved deeper into the system, heading toward the asteroid belt. To the watching aliens, their formation seemed loose and disorganized. The ships spread out in what appeared to be random positions. Look at their formation, Cormath observed. No discipline, no proper battle lines. They move like a merchant convoy, not a military fleet. Their largest vessel is only 300 meters long, noted the Vortaki observer. Our patrol boats are larger than that. What the aliens didn't understand was that the human ships were communicating using encrypted channels and tight beam communications. The seemingly random formation was actually a carefully planned dispersal pattern that would allow them to cover more space while remaining in support range of each other. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Peterson stood in the briefing room aboard the UES Defiance, addressing his Marine boarding teams. Remember, we're not just fighting pirates today. We're showing the galaxy what humans can do. Every one of you represents 6 billion people back home. The Marines nodded grimly. They had trained for months for this mission, studying everything known about Corvan tactics and pirate behavior. Unlike the rigid soldiers of other species, human Marines were trained to think independently and adapt to changing situations. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Mitchell studied the tactical display. The asteroid field stretched for millions of kilometers. providing countless hiding places for enemy ships. Traditional galactic tactics would involve sending in large ships to flush out the pirates, but humans had a different approach. "Lieutenant Brooks, deploy the scout drones," Mitchell ordered. Hundreds of small, stealthy drones launched from the human ships, spreading throughout the asteroid field like a net. These weren't the massive, expensive sensor platforms used by other species, but simple, cheap devices that could hide among the rocks and relay information. Aboard the Cosmic Harmony, the alien observers watched with growing confusion. "What are those small objects?" Cormath asked. "Primitive sensor devices," Processor Vex analyzed. "Very simple construction. They appear to lack sophisticated electronics." "Why are they deploying so many?" wondered the ethereal representative. Admiral Sullivan watched the display but offered no explanation. She knew something the aliens didn't. That quantity had a quality all its own. Within an hour, the human drones had mapped the entire asteroid field and located 17 pirate supply bases. More importantly, they had tracked the movement patterns of Vex-High's fleet as the pirates prepared to attack what they assumed was another weak galactic patrol. "Captain," reported the sensor officer on the Defiance, "we have full intelligence on enemy positions and movement patterns." "Excellent," Mitchell replied. "Signal the fleet. Execute Battle Plan Charlie." The human fleet suddenly changed from its loose formation into 3 distinct groups. The aliens watching had never seen anything like it. "They're dividing there already." "Small force?" Cormath asked in disbelief. "This is madness." But it wasn't madness. It was a tactic humans had used for centuries called divide and conquer. While one group would engage the pirates directly, the other 2 would circle around through the asteroid field to attack from different angles. The first pirate ships emerged from the asteroids, expecting to find easy prey. Vex-High commanded, from his flagship, a modified Corvin destroyer bristling with stolen weapons. "Attack Formation 7, Vex-High ordered his captains. "Fast strike, then retreat to rally point 3. The pirates charged toward the human fleet, confident in their superior numbers and knowledge of the asteroid field. What they found instead was something they had never encountered before. The human ships didn't retreat when attacked. Instead, they opened fire with weapons that confused and terrified the pirates. Instead of energy beams that could be deflected by shields, the humans used kinetic weapons, metal projectiles fired at incredible speeds. The UES Defiance's main gun, a massive railgun, sent a tungsten rod through the shield and armor of a pirate cruiser like it was made of paper. The projectile continued through the ship and out the other side, leaving a perfectly round hole that vented atmosphere and crew into space. "Impossible!" Vex-High shouted. "Their weapons penetrated our shields." But that was only the beginning. Human missiles, unlike the energy-based weapons of other species, could change course and adapt their attack patterns. When pirates tried to shoot them down, the missiles split into smaller warheads that swarmed the target from multiple directions. Fighter craft launched from human carriers performed maneuvers that should have killed their pilots. Human pilots could withstand gravitational forces that would crush other species, allowing them to make impossible turns and attack runs. The most shocking moment came when pirates managed to board the UES Defender. They expected the crew to surrender or flee, as most galactic species did when boarded by superior numbers. Instead, they met Sergeant Amy Collins and her security team. The human soldiers fought with a ferocity that terrified the boarding party. They didn't just defend their ship, they hunted the invaders through the corridors like predators stalking prey. Within minutes, the surviving pirates were begging to surrender. Aboard the Cosmic Harmony, the alien observers sat in stunned silence as they watched the battle unfold. "This is not possible," Processor Vex muttered. "Their technology should not be effective against modern shields and armor." "Yet it is working," the ethereal observed in harmonic tones. War Leader Cormath leaned forward, his red eyes fixed on the display. For the first time in his military career, he was seeing something completely new. The battle in the Kepler system was nothing like what the Galactic Council had expected to see. On the bridge of the Cosmic Harmony, alien observers watched in growing amazement as the human fleet executed maneuvers they had never witnessed before. "Captain," Mitchell stood calmly on the bridge of the UES Defiance as enemy fire streaked past his ship. Navigation, bring us about to bearing 270, weapons, prepare to fire main battery. Sir, that will put us directly in the path of 3 enemy ships, his tactical officer warned. That's the point, Lieutenant. Signal the Roosevelt and the Eisenhower to execute flanking maneuver Charlie 7. What Mitchell was doing had a name in human military history: crossing the T. It was a naval tactic hundreds of years old, where one fleet positioned itself perpendicular to the enemy's line of advance, allowing maximum firepower to be brought to bear while minimizing return fire. Vexhai, the pirate commander, had never seen anything like it. His ships were caught in a formation that exposed their weakest armor to the heaviest human guns, while preventing most of his own weapons from firing effectively. All ships, break formation and scatter, Vexhai ordered, but it was too late. The human fleet's main guns fired in sequence, each railgun sending a tungsten rod through space at 30 kilometers per second. The projectiles punched through pirate shields like they weren't there, because energy shields were designed to deflect energy, not solid matter traveling at incredible speeds. The pirate cruiser Shadow Strike exploded as a railgun round penetrated its reactor core. The destroyer Nightfang lost its entire forward section when another projectile tore through its bridge. In less than 2 minutes, 5 pirate ships were destroyed or disabled. On the Cosmic Harmony, War Leader Cormath's 4 hands gripped the railing so tightly that the metal began to bend. How are their primitive kinetic weapons so effective? Admiral Sullivan, the human military attaché, finally offered an explanation. Energy shields stop energy. They don't stop matter. It's basic physics. But kinetic weapons are obsolete, protested Processor Vex. Slow, inaccurate, limited range. Only if you're not very good at using them, Sullivan replied. The battle continued to unfold in ways that challenged everything the aliens thought they knew about warfare. Human fighters performed maneuvers that should have been impossible, pulling turns that generated forces no living being should survive. Lieutenant Sarah Kim gritted her teeth as her fighter pulled 8 Gs in a tight turn, pursuing a pirate interceptor through the asteroid field. Her alien opponents could barely handle 3 Gs before losing consciousness, giving human pilots a massive advantage in dogfights. Fox 2, Fox 2, Kim called out as she fired a missile at the fleeing pirate. The weapon didn't just fly straight, like alien missiles. It twisted and turned, following the enemy ship through a series of desperate evasive maneuvers before finally striking home. But it wasn't just the technology that shocked the observers. It was how humans used it. When the pirate ship Void Runner managed to disable the human destroyer UES Washington with a lucky hit, the crew didn't abandon ship as other species would. Instead, they continued fighting. Commander Bob Hayes, the Washington's captain, stood on his damaged bridge as sparks flew from broken consoles around him. Engineering, I need power to the main guns. Sir, we've lost main power, came the reply. Reactors offline. Then switch to backup batteries. I don't care if we only get one shot, make it count. The Washington's guns fired one last time before the ship went dark, and that single shot destroyed the pirate vessel that had crippled her. It was a concept alien to most galactic species, fighting to the last breath rather than surrendering. When defeat seemed certain, the pirate fleet was being torn apart by tactics they couldn't understand or counter. Vexhai tried everything he knew about space combat, but human warfare followed different rules. They're not fighting like civilized beings, Vexhai complained to his aide. They're acting like wild animals. What the pirate commander didn't understand was that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years longer than most galactic species. Every trick, every tactic, every possible situation had been encountered and learned from by generations of human warriors. When pirates tried to use the asteroid field for cover, human ships followed them into spaces too tight for larger alien vessels. The compact human destroyers wove between rocks that would crush bigger ships, hunting their prey with patient determination. Lieutenant Colonel Peterson's Marines were having their own impact on the battle. When pirates boarded the UES Defender, they expected to face soldiers who would fight in organized formations with clear rules of engagement. Instead, they encountered something terrifying. Sergeant Collins moved through the ship's corridors like a predator, using her knowledge of the vessel's layout to hunt the invaders. Human soldiers didn't just defend positions, they stalked their enemies, using stealth and surprise tactics that other species considered unsporting. "Contact left," called out Corporal Danny Martinez as he spotted a group of Corvan pirates trying to reach the ship's reactor. The Marines moved as a team, but each soldier made independent decisions about how to engage the enemy. When the pirates tried to surrender, expecting to be taken prisoner according to galactic conventions, they discovered that humans had their own ideas about battlefield mercy. The Marines accepted surrenders but immediately searched and secured prisoners, treating them as potential threats rather than honored defeated warriors. The most shocking moment came when pirates managed to take several human crew members hostage, expecting this to stop the fighting. In most galactic cultures, protecting civilians was considered more important than military objectives. "Human vessel, we have your people," the pirate leader broadcast. "Cease fire, or they die." Captain Mitchell's response stunned everyone listening. "Negative. Continue the mission." The hostages knew the risks when they volunteered for military service. The captain's words weren't cruel. They reflected a military philosophy that put the mission and the greater good above individual lives. The crew members being held hostage understood this and didn't expect special treatment that would compromise the operation. What happened next demonstrated another aspect of human warfare that aliens found difficult to understand. Instead of accepting the hostage situation, the Marines launched a rescue operation that was both incredibly dangerous and completely unexpected. Peterson led the rescue team personally, using ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels to reach the hostages. The pirates, who thought they held a winning hand, suddenly found themselves under attack from directions they hadn't known existed. The rescue operation succeeded in minutes, with all hostages freed and their captors either dead or captured. It was the kind of rapid, flexible response that human military training emphasized, but other species rarely attempted. As the battle entered its final phase, Vexhai found himself commanding only 8 ships out of his original 30. The human fleet had lost 1 destroyer and taken damage to several other vessels, but they were still fighting with undiminished effectiveness. "This is impossible," Vexhai muttered, as he watched another of his ships explode under human fire. They should have run out of ammunition by now. But human weapons were designed for extended combat. The railguns used simple metal projectiles that could be manufactured aboard ship, and the missiles carried multiple warheads that split apart, during attack runs making each shot count for more. The final blow came when Captain Mitchell ordered what humans called a crossing maneuver. 3 human ships positioned themselves so that Vexhai's flagship was caught in overlapping fields of fire with no escape route. "Surrender now and your crew will be treated according to galactic conventions," Mitchell broadcast to the pirate. "Commander." Vexhai looked around his damaged bridge at the bodies of his crew and the sparking ruins of his ship's systems. In all his years as a military commander, he had never encountered an enemy like this. "I surrender," he transmitted, his voice barely a whisper. The battle was over. The pirate fleet that had terrorized the Kepler system for 8 months had been destroyed or captured in less than 4 hours. On the Cosmic Harmony, the alien observers sat in stunned silence. "That should not have been possible," Processor Vex finally said. War Leader Cormath nodded slowly. "No, it should not have. But we have seen it with our own eyes." Council Prime. Zixtar turned to Admiral Sullivan. "How did they do it?" Sullivan smiled. "They fought like humans. And now I think the galaxy is beginning to understand what that means." The smoke had cleared from the battlefield, and the wreckage of 30 pirate ships drifted silently through the asteroid field. Aboard the human fleet, medical teams worked to treat the wounded, while engineering crews repaired battle damage. But the most important work was happening in the meeting rooms and corridors where aliens and humans spoke face-to-face for the first time as equals. Council Prime Zixtar materialized on the bridge of the UES Defiance, his silver robes shimmering, as he looked around the cramped human command center. Everything about the ship felt wrong to his alien senses. The low ceilings, the harsh lighting, the crude metal surfaces covered with warning labels and emergency equipment. "Captain Mitchell," Zixtar said, his voice carrying undertones of confusion. "Your vessel is so Practical. Mitchell smiled as he gestured around the bridge. We build ships to fight, not to impress. Every surface serves a purpose. Every system has backups. What Zixtar was seeing was the result of centuries of human military experience. While other species built beautiful ships that projected power and status, humans built ugly ships that worked under the worst possible conditions. In the medical bay, Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked alongside her team to treat wounded prisoners from the pirate fleet. What shocked the alien observers was that she gave the same care to enemy wounded that she gave to human casualties. War leader Cormath watched with growing amazement as the human doctor stitched up a Corvan pirate who had tried to kill her people just hours before. Why do you waste resources on defeated enemies? He asked. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her patient, her hands still working to stop the bleeding from a severe wound. Because he's hurt and I'm a doctor. It's that simple. But he is your enemy, Cormath insisted. In Thraxian culture, defeated warriors are either executed or enslaved. They have proven their weakness. In human culture, Rodriguez replied, continuing her work, we believe that how you treat your enemies says more about you than how you treat your friends. The concept was difficult for most alien species to understand. Throughout galactic history, warfare had been about domination and destruction. The idea of showing mercy to defeated foes seemed not just unusual but dangerous. Council military analyst Kixran, a Quillan with extensive battle experience, examined the human weapon systems with growing fascination. The railguns that had torn through pirate ships were surprisingly simple in design, just magnetic coils accelerating metal projectiles. These kinetic weapons, Kixran said to Lieutenant Commander Brooks, they require no exotic materials, no antimatter, no quantum field generators. How can something so simple be so effective? Brooks led the alien through the weapons bay, explaining the human approach to military technology. We learned long ago that simple systems work better in combat. Complex weapons break down when you need them most. These railguns can be repaired with basic tools and fired as long as we have metal and electricity. But surely more advanced weapons would be superior? Kixran asked. Advanced doesn't always mean better, Brooks replied. Our missiles use simple chemical explosives and basic guidance systems, but they work in any environment. Your energy weapons are impressive, but what happens when someone develops better shields or jammers? The alien analyst was beginning to understand something fundamental about human military philosophy. While other species sought technological superiority, humans focused on reliability and adaptability. In the detention area, Colonel Peterson interviewed Vex High, the captured pirate leader. The former Corvan military commander sat in his cell, still struggling to understand how his superior force had been defeated so easily. Your tactics make no sense, Vex High said, his insectoid features showing confusion. You divided your forces when you should have concentrated them. You attacked when you should have maneuvered. You fought in close quarters where superior numbers should have given us the advantage. Peterson leaned back in his chair, studying the alien prisoner. You're thinking like a Corvan, not like a human. We don't follow your military doctrine because we wrote our own. But military science is universal, Vex High protested. There are proven principles of warfare that apply to all species. Are there? Peterson asked. Your people developed space, combat tactics based on your physiology and psychology. You can't handle high G-forces, so you build ships with limited maneuverability. You think as a collective, so you use rigid formations and centralized command. You assume all species have the same limitations. The colonel stood and walked to the cell's window, looking out at the asteroid field where the battle had taken place. Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other in every possible environment. Ocean, land, air, mountains, deserts, jungles, cities, space. We learned to adapt because we had to. What Peterson was describing was something the galactic community had never experienced. Most species achieved spaceflight and then stopped evolving militarily, content with their technological advantages. Humans had continued to develop new tactics and strategies even after reaching the stars. On the bridge of the Cosmic Harmony, Admiral Sullivan presented her analysis to the assembled alien representatives. The council members sat in uncomfortable silence as she explained human military doctrine. Your species fight wars to achieve political objectives, Sullivan said, her words translated into a dozen alien languages. You seek quick, decisive victories that minimize casualties and preserve resources. This is logical and efficient. Then why don't humans follow the same approach? Asked the ethereal representative. Because humans fight wars to win, Sullivan replied simply. We understand that warfare is ultimately about breaking the enemy's will to resist. Sometimes that requires tactics that seem wasteful or cruel to other species. She activated a holographic display showing the battle that had just concluded. When pirates took hostages, you expected us to negotiate or withdraw. Instead, we rescued them. When ships were disabled, you expected the crews to surrender. Instead, they kept fighting. When faced with superior numbers, you expected us to retreat. Instead, we attacked. War leader Cormath leaned forward, his red eyes glowing with interest. Your warriors show impressive courage, but courage alone does not explain your victory. How do your junior officers make decisions without consulting their superiors? Sullivan smiled at the question. We call it mission-type orders. Our officers are given objectives and trusted to figure out how to achieve them. When communications are cut or situations change rapidly, they can adapt without waiting for new instructions. This should create chaos, Processor Vex observed. Without centralized control, military units become ineffective. Only if your people can't think for themselves, Sullivan replied. Human soldiers are trained to understand not just what they're supposed to do, but why they're doing it. This allows them to make good decisions even when facing unexpected situations. The concept was revolutionary to species that relied on hive mind coordination or rigid hierarchical structures. The idea of individual soldiers making independent tactical decisions seemed impossible to control. Ambassador Morrison arrived aboard the Cosmic Harmony for the post-battle conference, his diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the military personnel around him. As he entered the council chamber, he could feel the change in atmosphere. The aliens who had dismissed humanity 6 months ago now watched him with very different expressions. Honored council members, Morrison began, I believe we have completed the demonstration you requested. Zixtar's response was measured and careful. Indeed, Ambassador Morrison, your military forces showed unexpected capabilities. The question now, added Cormath, is what humanity intends to do with those capabilities. Morrison had been preparing for this moment since the battle ended. Humanity seeks not conquest but cooperation. We want to share our knowledge and learn from yours. The galaxy faces many threats, and we believe that together we can address them more effectively than any species could alone. You would teach other species your military methods? The ethereal asked. If they wish to learn, Morrison replied. We've found that former enemies often make the best allies. Some of our closest friends on Earth were once our deadliest foes. The statement hung in the air as the aliens considered its implications. The concept of turning enemies into allies was as foreign to them as most human military tactics. Council Prime Zixtar finally spoke for the assembly. The council must deliberate on what we have witnessed today. This demonstration has raised questions that we had not anticipated. As the session ended, Morrison noticed Admiral Sullivan standing at the observation deck looking out at the human fleet. The ships were already forming up for the journey home, their mission completed. What do you think they'll decide? Morrison asked. Sullivan watched as human and alien medical shuttles worked together to transport wounded from both sides to proper medical facilities. I think, she said slowly, the galaxy just learned that there's more than one way to fight a war. Now they have to decide if they want to learn from us or fear us. In the distance, salvage crews from multiple species worked side by side to clean up the battlefield. For the first time in galactic history, the cleanup operation was being coordinated by human officers who treated alien workers as equals rather than subordinates. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 3 days after the battle in the Kepler system. The great crystal chamber on Nexus Prime buzzed with activity as representatives from all 12 species gathered to discuss what they had witnessed. Never in the history of the galactic community had a single military demonstration changed so many minds so quickly. Council Prime Zixtar called the session to order, his silver robes reflecting the light from the chamber's walls. The usual formality was replaced by an atmosphere of urgent discussion and debate. Honored representatives, Zixtar began, we are here to address the human demonstration and its implications for galactic security and diplomacy. War Leader Cormath was the first to speak. The massive Thraxian stood slowly, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of respect. In 17 campaigns across the galaxy, I have never witnessed military capability like that displayed by the far humans. They do not simply fight, they think, they adapt. They turn weakness into strength and enemies into allies. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Thraxian military leader's words carried significant weight, as his species had been the galactic community's primary defenders for centuries. Processor Vex activated his electronic voice system, the lights on his head blinking rapidly as he processed data. Analysis of human weapons technology reveals efficiency levels previously thought impossible. Their kinetic weapons use simple physics to achieve results that our energy systems cannot match. More concerning is their tactical flexibility. Our combat models cannot predict human behavior because they do not follow established military doctrine. The ethereal representative drifted closer to the speaking circle, its gaseous form shifting between colors as it communicated through harmonic resonance. We have observed many species throughout our existence in this galaxy. Most achieve advanced technology and then become static, relying on their advantages to maintain superiority. Humans appear to have continued evolving, not just technologically but philosophically. Council military analyst Kixran requested permission to present his findings. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing detailed analysis of the recent battle. The humans achieved victory through principles we had dismissed as primitive: individual initiative, adaptive planning, and most surprisingly, mercy toward defeated enemies. The Quillen's presentation showed footage of human medical teams treating pirate wounded alongside their own casualties. It displayed recordings of human soldiers accepting surrenders and treating prisoners according to galactic conventions, even though those same pirates had shown no such mercy moments before. This concept of honorable treatment of enemies is revolutionary, Kixran continued. In recorded galactic history, warfare has always been about domination or annihilation. The humans demonstrate a third option: transformation of conflict into cooperation. The Vortaki trade representative, its tentacles writhing with excitement, spoke up from its position in the chamber. Our economic models suggest that human military philosophy could have profound effects on galactic commerce. If conflicts can be resolved through negotiation backed by overwhelming force rather than prolonged warfare, trade routes would be more stable and profitable. Ambassador Morrison entered the chamber with Admiral Sullivan at his side. The two humans walked calmly to the center platform, but the atmosphere around them had changed completely since their first appearance 6 months ago. Where before there had been condescension and amusement, now there was respect and genuine curiosity. Ambassador Morrison, Zixtar addressed the human diplomat. The Council has been discussing the implications of your military demonstration. We find ourselves reconsidering many of our assumptions about warfare and civilization. Morrison bowed respectfully before responding. Honored Council members, humanity comes before you not seeking to impose our methods, but to offer our experience. We have learned hard lessons through centuries of conflict, and we believe these lessons could benefit the entire galactic community. What exactly are you proposing? Asked Cormath. Admiral Sullivan stepped forward. We propose the establishment of a joint military academy where human and alien officers can train together, not to replace your existing military traditions, but to supplement them with alternative approaches to conflict resolution. The chamber erupted in discussions as representatives consulted with their aides and each other. The concept was unprecedented. No single species had ever offered to share their military secrets with potential rivals. The ethereal representative was the first to respond. You would teach other species your tactical methods, your weapons, technology, your command philosophy? Yes, Morrison replied simply. We believe that a galaxy where all species understand each other's capabilities and methods would be more stable and peaceful than one where military secrets create suspicion and fear. Processor Vex's lights blinked rapidly as he processed this information. Logic suggests that sharing military knowledge would reduce your tactical advantages. Why would you willingly give up strategic superiority? Sullivan answered with a slight smile. Because true security doesn't come from being stronger than everyone else. It comes from everyone being strong enough to defend what they value while having no reason to attack their neighbors. The human admiral activated her own holographic display showing Earth's military history. On our world, we have seen this transformation happen many times. Nations that were deadly enemies became close allies when they learned to understand and respect each other. War leader Cormath studied the historical data with growing interest. You speak of former enemies becoming allies. How is this possible? Once trust is broken, how can it be repaired? Through shared experience and mutual benefit, Morrison explained. When former enemies work together toward common goals, they often discover that their differences are smaller than their similarities. The debate continued for hours as council members grappled with concepts that challenged their fundamental understanding of interspecies relations. The rigid caste systems of several civilizations were questioned as representatives considered human ideas about individual initiative and merit-based advancement. The most dramatic moment came when the captured pirate leader Vexhi was brought before the council. The former Corvan military commander had requested to speak, and his words shocked everyone present. Honored council members, Vexhi said, his voice carrying none of its former arrogance. I have spent 3 days as a prisoner of the humans. I expected execution or slavery. Instead, I have been treated with dignity and offered rehabilitation programs. Vexhi looked directly at war leader Cormath. The humans defeated my fleet not through superior technology, but through superior thinking. They showed mercy when they could have shown cruelty. They offered redemption when they could have demanded vengeance. The pirate leader's testimony carried unexpected weight because it came from someone who had experienced human military capability firsthand. I formally request asylum in human space, Vexhi continued. I wish to study their methods and perhaps contribute to this new approach to galactic security. The chamber fell silent as the implications of this request sank in. A former enemy was publicly asking to join the humans not out of fear, but out of genuine admiration for their principles. Council Prime Zixtar called for a formal vote on the human proposal. One by one, the representatives of the 12 species voiced their support for establishing the Joint Military Academy and offering humanity full membership in the Galactic Council. The vote was unanimous. As the session concluded, Morrison and Sullivan found themselves surrounded by alien representatives eager to discuss the details of cooperation. Species that had been suspicious of each other for centuries began talking about joint training exercises and shared defense initiatives. 3 months later, the first class of cadets graduated from the new Galactic Military Academy on Luna Station, Earth's moon. Human and alien officers stood side by side, having learned not just new tactics and technologies, but new ways of thinking about conflict and cooperation. Captain Mitchell, now promoted to Admiral, commanded the first joint task, force composed of ships from 6 different species. The UGS Unity, their flagship, carried crews from former enemy civilizations working together using human tactical doctrine, combined with alien technology and perspectives. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Unity, watching as the fleet prepared to respond to a distress call in the Outer Rim. Pirates were threatening a peaceful colony world, and the Joint Task Force would be their first test of the new cooperative approach to galactic security. Admiral, reported the communications officer, a young Quillan named Zigtar, all ships report ready for jump. Very good, Sullivan replied. Signal the fleet. Time to show the galaxy what we can accomplish when we work together. As the ships entered hyperspace heading toward their first mission as a united force, Sullivan reflected on how much had changed since that first demonstration in the Kepler system. The galaxy had learned that there was more than one way to approach conflict, and that sometimes the greatest strength came not from individual power, but from unity of purpose.